This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, my name is Brooke Balance, and I am the internal training and operations manager in the sales department at Illinois Mutual. Today's training session, I am going to focus on our illustration and application software that is available. Specifically today, I'm going to talk about the Simplified Issue Whole Life plan that we are launching August 1st of 2020. I'm hoping that this information will be helpful for you as we go through just to show you how quick and easy both the illustration and the application software are. So first things first, I'm starting within the Agent Forum website. If you are not already a member of our Agent Forum website, please make sure that you reach out to our sales team to help you get set up on our Agent Forum site. You can reach us by calling 800-437-7355, and we are at extension 775. So to get registered for the Agent Forum is really a simple process. Once you're registered, you can log in. I am sharing my screen here with you. I'm already logged into the Agent Forum and have simply clicked on the Illustrations and Applications tab at the top. So just kind of a quick overview of our illustration system. From the screen, you have a couple of options. Over here on the left, you can create a client. This is a client-centric system, and so you can build multiple activities, illustrations, or applications under any client. You can go straight to creating an illustration, which will allow you to select either an existing client or to create a new client from there. Or if you have already gotten some premium numbers for your client and just need to start an application, you can do that as well. So first things first, we're going to kind of start at the beginning, and I'm going to show you my preferred way to do this. So we're going to click on Create Illustration. And I am going to create a new client because I do not have any clients built in here. If you had an existing client that you needed to quote, you could just choose existing client and select them from a drop-down list. So for the first name, I'm just going to do a sample illustration here. And we're going to say this individual is 55-year-old male. If you have a date of birth, you're welcome to go ahead and add that in. Where that can be helpful for you is if you start an application from this illustration, and I'll get to that piece in a minute, but if you already have the date of birth in there, any information that's already there will automatically transfer over to the application itself. So I'm going to click the Next button. And now I have the opportunity to select which plan we are looking at. So for our purposes today, as I had mentioned already, we're focusing on the simplified issue whole life insurance. So under plan type, I chose whole life. And now under the product, we have two options, either the single pay whole life or the continuous pay. I'm focusing on the continuous pay whole life, so I'm going to select that option. You'll notice here there's a case name. Definitely, if that is, you can make changes to that case name. So I would recommend that if you're going to be showing a couple of different options and need to name that something so that it's easier for you to remember, you're more than welcome to change that. Otherwise, it can remain at the default. The other thing I want to mention that's really important is to make sure before you move into the illustration that you choose the state in which your client will be signing the application. This will default to your um, resident state that you have set up with Illinois Mutual, though we understand that you may sell policies to policy owners in other states, and so it's important to make sure you select that up front. Once I have everything in, I'm going to go ahead and click the Next button. You'll notice that this is a tab-based system. So up along the top here, I'm going to see the name of my client. I named this very simply sample illustration for our purposes today. You could be working on multiple client illustrations at the same time, and those would all display here. I could also be working on different product illustrations for each client, and I would see a list of those tabs along the same line as that. So as I get into the illustration, our simplified issue plan is a very simple product. So if you see here, I can just scroll down. I can take a look at what my death benefit is that I want to input. If I'd like to input based on amount to spend, I can change to that option as well. You've got your various modes. Most often it's monthly that people choose, and so that is the default. This plan offers benefits anywhere from $5,000 up to $50,000. We do default this to $35,000, kind of somewhere in the middle range, but I can certainly make changes to that if I wanted to go with the $50,000. If you input an amount that's outside of the parameters that is allowed, you will get a message that will pop up, as you can see on the screen, that will let you know what the valid entries are. So I'm going to go ahead with that 35,000. And any point in time that I am just curious what my premium is, I can click on this quick calc option at the bottom. This will pull up a little summary of our death benefit and then what the various premium modes would be. So I can choose monthly, semi-monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual in this option. I can click OK to come back to the main part of the illustration. I do want to mention over here on the left, we do have the opportunity, if this is something that interests you, that you can illustrate loans and loan repayments. If you were going to illustrate a loan, you would simply click this button, add a row, and then input the amount of that loan. I am going to take that back off for purposes of our illustration. Over on the left-hand side, there is a quick option that allows you to see the values before you get to the actual PDF illustration that's going to generate. So I can click on this, take a look at guaranteed versus non-guaranteed numbers. If I decide that's not what I want to do, I can of course go back to the policy details at any time and make some changes here and then go back and look at the values. Once I've built a plan that seems like it's going to be a fit for my client, I have the opportunity to choose this drop down on the right hand side, the action button. This is going to give me some options. At this point, I can preview the or I can start an application. If I start at the top here, I can preview the illustration, begin a new illustration. I can copy this current illustration. Sometimes that's helpful if you're wanting to show or look at a couple of different options. I can copy and then kind of start from where I left off and make some changes. You could save this as a template or cancel. So I'm going to preview the illustration just so you guys can see what that looks like. I do want to mention that this will pop up, as you can see on my screen, as a PDF. And so if you happen to have any pop-up blockers on, that could prevent this from coming up. So if you see a message that asks if you're interested in, or if you want to allow this as a safe site to allow pop-ups, make sure to select yes so that you can see the illustration. Our illustrations provide all of the information that we have on file for you under Prepared By, so that if you leave this behind with your client, they have that information available to them. Of course, Illinois Mutual's contact information. Scrolling down, we can see the various premium modes in case you have that meeting with your client and they decide they would rather pay quarterly or another payment method. Of course, we provide as much information as we can on the illustrations. These were written very focused on the customer to make sure that they are easily understood by the customer. So we try to provide some various definitions and some explanation for the customer so that they fully understand what they're looking at on their illustrations. And as you can see, I'm just kind of scrolling down to give you a quick glimpse here. Very great information available on that illustration. And let's say now I've met with my client and I'm ready to move on with the application. We love the fact that we have built a very easy illustration and application system that work very seamlessly together. So I can, at this point, I have a couple of options. I can click the action button and go to the application. As I had mentioned to you before, you do have the option under the Home tab to just create an illustration from here. But my personal preference is if you've already done the illustration to do it from the app, or I'm sorry, if you've already done the illustration, start the application from there. So when it pulls up, it's going to automatically default to the appropriate application and you can click create. And now we start entering the application information. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill in some information here as we move along, entering all of the required pieces of information. You will note any required fields with any asterisk by them. So I'm going to use just email addresses here. Completing the additional information here as we go through. Um, You'll notice that if I would select yes here on whether we have a driver's license, it's going to populate those fields and they become required. For sake of this demonstration, I am going to try to um, put some of the fields so that they're a little bit easier to get through, so we don't have to you don't have to watch me fill out every single piece of information here. So once I've completed that page, I can click continue on the lower right hand side. This page is asking me to verify the product selection. You will note that class is aggregate. We do not have tobacco versus non-tobacco rates on this plan, so that will automatically default. There is a dividend option that must be selected. It's either accumulated interest or cash, and then confirming the monthly pay mode. Once everything is confirmed on that page, I can click continue. Now we get to the beneficiary information. On the beneficiary, what I need to do is choose new and then determine what type of beneficiary. So I am going to indicate the spouse is the beneficiary. The primary beneficiary for 100 and would receive 100% of a benefit. We do ask, if possible, to gather as much information such as the Social Security number, um, address, all of that, though you'll notice that those are not required fields. I'm going to continue through here. We're talking about, do we have any other life insurance or annuities in force? At this point, this individual does not have any that we need to consider. And complete that question. For the owner, the same type of situation. We're going to determine for the owner first, is it the insured or someone else? In our instance, it is the insured, and I can click OK. It will automatically populate that information. Now, if you need, you can add a contingent owner to the policy, but in this case, I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and click Continue. And then also with the payer. So again, is the payer the owner or is there another individual? And the payer is the owner in our example. For the payment information, I'm going to have it be effective at the issue date, and we're going to mail the policy to me as the agent. The initial premium payment, I am going to do as cash on delivery, and so I'm going to select that option. Because I chose monthly, it's going to default give me the option to do EFT payment. And then I would enter the banking information. You're going to notice that the banking information is not required with an EFT because we realize that not everybody has all of these pieces of information available to you right at the time that they're doing the application. So if you have to turn that information into us at a later time, that's totally fine. So for that reason, I'm going to leave that blank. Now we get to the health questions. This is a simplified underwriting process. And so you're going to notice that there's not just a few health questions that we have to answer. So I'm going to go ahead and input height and weight. And I'm going to go through and answer these questions. The medical questions are a simple yes or no. There are no additional drill down questions that populate as a result of answering yes on any of these application questions. That's slightly different. If any of you are familiar with our traditional life insurance application process online, it is slightly different. Um, for the purposes of this, because I want to show you how this works, I am going to purposefully skip a question on the application. I'm going to keep moving forward. If there are any supplemental forms that are required as a result of this application, they would pop up in a list here. I do not have any supplemental forms that were triggered by any of the questions that I answered on the application, so it will let me know that there's no forms to edit, and I can click continue. One of the reasons why I did what I did is in skipping the application or a couple of questions on the application is because I wanted to show you what this looks like. So our the application system is intuitive in that if you miss any questions that are required for us to proceed with an in good order application to underwriting, you will get a list of that here. So it looks like I not only missed the question I purposefully skipped, but I also accidentally missed the date of birth. So all I have to do is click on this heading. It will take me back to this section of anything that I've missed and allows me to go ahead and put in the answers to whatever I missed. So let me see here. I think I said that we had a 55-year-old. So information in. I can just go ahead and go back to complete application by clicking that on the left-hand side. And now I can click on my other question that I missed, get that answered. If you'll notice on both of these screens, it highlights any portion that was missed. And then I'll complete application again. You'll notice that my percentage down here is now at 100%. So we know that we've got everything completely answered in order to do a good application through underwriting. So I can click continue. Now it's going to bring up a list of the completed application forms that I need to review. So I can click the Review Forms button. It once again is going to pull up a PDF for me. I can have a look at this just to make sure that everything populated as I intended, that I didn't answer anything incorrectly, or that I didn't plan to answer that way. And once I have reviewed that completely, I can go back to the document and click Continue. I'm going to indicate what city it was that we signed. You'll notice we talked earlier in the app and this training video about how important it was to select the state at the very beginning. This is one of the reasons why, because once you get in here, you aren't allowed to change this. It is behind the scenes populating all of the appropriate forms by state, and so we need to know that up front. And we have two signature options. I'm going to demonstrate the mouse and finger stylus, but I'm going to talk about both of those. So with the mouse / finger / stylus option, this will pop up the opportunity for you to truly take your mouse. I'm going to say here that I agree to the application information, and then it brings up this box here that I can select. So I can go ahead and sign with my mouse, and once I'm happy with that and it looks somewhat like my signature, since it's digital, it will always look slightly funny, I can click Apply Signature. If there was any reason that I didn't like my signature, I could click the clear button to clear that out. But once I apply the signature, I don't have the option to clear that. So I'm going to click Continue. And then I have a couple of pieces of information here. This is sort of the agent's report, as you'll see over here on the left-hand side. Completing any information that is required. If you have any notes or comments to add to the underwriters at the home office, I would highly encourage you to add them at this section. If you have any information that is helpful in the underwriting process or anything like that, this is just a good place to add that so that it comes in with the application. Now I'm going to review the advisor forms. You'll see again, this is the same application, but you'll notice if I can scroll to the signature sections that it applied my digital signature that I collected that I did with my mouse. If you happen to have a touch screen computer and choose that option, obviously you can use your finger or a stylus to do that as well. So I'm going to continue now that I've looked at all of that. If there's by chance anything that you need to attach for the home office to review with the application, you can do that here. It would be sent securely along with your application. So as the agent now, I need to choose my signature method. I am doing this slightly backwards here. As an agent, I would almost always recommend that you use the mouse finger stylus option. It's just quick and easy for you to do. What we didn't talk about was the e-signature option for the client. Oftentimes you may be taking these applications where the client is not face-to-face and they can't take over the mouse or sign with their finger on your screen. And so you're going to need to send an email for signatures. This option is extremely nice in those situations. All you need to do is confirm an email address where the request will be sent to your applicant to sign that application. One thing I really want to note is that when your applicant receives the email from for these signatures, that email is going to come from a vendor called OneSpan Sign. They may be looking for something from Illinois Mutual, but it will not be from Illinois Mutual. I do want to pull up real quick. We have this wonderful one-page flyer that can be accessed on our resource library, or you can give us a call and we're happy to get this to you. This is sort of a step-by-step instruction that you could provide to the client so that they know what to expect. It includes screenshots that allow them to see exactly what they're going to see on screen when they get that communication and once they start to walk in through that process. This is extremely helpful for applicants who are going through this process the first time. And so we are more than happy to supply this to you so that you can get this to your applicants. This provides all the detail, helps them to see visually, what that screen will look like. They'll get green marks on their screen instead of the yellow highlights, and that's how they know that the application or the signature process worked. So for the purposes of our demo today, I am going to just do the mouse signature as well. I mentioned before, I can click the clear button if I decided I wasn't quite happy with that and I need to do it again. And once there, I can click apply. It will provide this confirmation once the signature has been applied. I can now click continue. I get one more screen here at the end that lets me know the status of my application. It's showing me here what method each signature was requested with. We did both today with the mouse, and it shows that they're both signed. Once I'm ready, I've got the opportunity once again to review any forms and the leave behind forms, which are automatically emailed to the client, but I can view those from this screen. And once I'm ready, I click submit. In the event that you did choose the e-signature, where your client receives the email to go in and sign, you will see that signature method here will show e-signature, and it will provide the email address over here on the right that was sent to. Once that signature process has been completed by your client, you will receive an email letting you know that the signatures have been complete. Once that happens, the Illinois Mutual application system will automatically submit that application. So there is no need to go back in and submit the application manually. The system will already handle that. The other thing I might recommend is that you reach out to us if you need some assistance in submitting any of your applications. We would be more than happy to help you if you run into anything along the way. I hope that this presentation is helpful for you. We look forward to working with you and helping you grow your business. I hope you have a wonderful day. Again, our number is 800-437-7355, extension 775.